Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Wednesday Live on Running Through the Jungle episode. I'm your boy Justin Lacey, joining me with my boy Tim Lyons here. We got Brandon out today. How you doing, Tim?
Doing good, man. Just enjoying the week, and I actually got a short week this week. I'm taking PTO on Friday, so working tomorrow's my Friday.
Hey, no, for real. Me and you in the same boat because I'm actually taking some Friday off as well too,
Nice,
and I'm going on vacation for my birthday week all
perfect.
throughout next week. So I'm looking forward to that, bro.
Uh-oh.
I'm excited.
I think I lost him.
Oh
I
man,
did. There he is.
am I back yet?
Yep, you're back. You're good.
Okay. All right. Sorry for the listeners here as we ruffle through some connection issues. That's on me. On me. Okay. Doing the best that I can here. But as I was saying, yeah, I'm going on vacation this Friday too. So you and we're in the same boat.
Yeah, I'm excited. Just to just relax and not worry about work for the day, or actually for for those 3 days and Sunday. So it's gonna be nice.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like that. I mean, I'm learning the hard way that you got to give yourself a break, man, from just everyday life,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. Like I've been grinding myself to a pulp all year long. And this is the very first time that I'm actually going to be able to go on vacation and do something like go somewhere. I haven't done anything since last year in September, and we're in August this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm long overdue for some vacation time. So, and I'm treating myself, I'm going to the Big Apple and, spend some
Yeah.
time out in New York City, so I'm excited about that. But
Great.
I know that you listeners don't want to hear about my vacation plans, even though I got to share it with you my life. So I got to share that stuff with you all. So, but thank you all for joining us. If you decided to subscribe to the show or to this particular episode, by the way, and your intention was to hear anything related to Jamar Chase and his contract and his holdout, you got the wrong show. If you decided that you want to hear a lot about T. Higgins and his contract situation today, you got the wrong show. Here's what we will do, because we've beat those topics to the drum so much that we don't need to go into that today. Do you agree, Tim?
100%. That's everything that is on right now is Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase. And I don't feel like talking about it either today.
Yeah. It's at some point we need to pack those topics up and move on with ourselves. It's something that us as a fan base, don't get me wrong. When you're on social media, you hear these things on a daily basis. But at some point, you got to be able to move on from these things and talk about other stuff. The contracts will get handled when they get handled.
Amen.
But here's what we are going to discuss today. August has started, which means what? Preseason
Preseason.
football is
Yeah.
around. Basically, it's here. We already had the Hall of Fame game last week on, what was that, Thursday, between
Right.
the Texans and the Bears.
Yep.
Did you even watch that game?
Uh, I tried to. I watched like the first quarter of it, and then I turned it off. Um, I had. Oh, I remember what happened. Somebody challenged me to play college football that night, and I said, "Yeah, either play college football and beat the crap out of the guy, or watch preseason." I chose to whoop his ass. Excuse my French.
I mean, man, screw it. Yeah, I would have chose that direction too. Now I don't got college football, the newest one that came out, but I know you're an average football player, college football, video game player. So I'll
Yeah.
tip my cap to you with that because I know if I try to challenge anybody on the sticks or playing the games and whatnot, they'll whoop my ass like crazy, bro. I'm not a gamer, man. I tried. Last Madden that I've
Yeah.
ever played was Madden 13. Calvin
Mm,
Johnson was on the cover of that Madden. That's how
mhm.
long it was been for me. I just feel like that. I just didn't need to anymore. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, I didn't watch it. Actually, no, I did watch the first drive. The Texans got the
Mhm.
ball first. Davis Mills just went on a, I don't know how many plays it was, but it was very clean. They executed nice. Got a touchdown. Awesome. I just cut
Yeah.
it off. I watched it on my phone and I just cut it off afterwards because, I decided to watch a movie instead and then went to sleep.
Yeah.
So,
And like And like my main reason why I wanted to watch the first quarter was the kickoff. I wanted to see the kickoff. That's all I wanted to see. After that, I was like, okay, cool.
That's we're gonna get into this later, but that's exactly what I wanted to see too. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
all these different talking points about like the kickoff and whatnot. How are they really going to do this? I thought they did pretty good. Just
It's
saying, you know.
interesting. It is. If you had never watched XFL or Canadian League football or whatever it is, it's something new, and it's not something I'm familiar with because I don't spend my time watching XFL or whatever. But yeah, it's something new. It's they're hoping to get some more return kicks instead of people kicking them in the end zone. And of course, you kicking in the end zone now these days. It's what, the 30-yard line or 30, 40-yard
It
line or
was
whatever the hell
weird.
it is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird. It's
yeah,
but like as they were explaining it to us during the off season, I was confused.
right.
But then I actually saw it on the field, and I was like, okay,
Hmm.
this actually could work. They actually untapped something here. So
Yeah,
that's something that I'm actually intrigued on seeing how the season unfolds. But here's what we're going to do today. So we're not going. So we got an upcoming preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is what, this Saturday at 7 o'clock.
yep.
Obviously, the backstory of the Buccaneers, they obviously won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady in 2020.
Hmm.
They almost made a nice little run in 2021, but unfortunately, the Rams beat them out of the playoffs and won the Super Bowl, obviously against us. We don't need to bring that up. And 22, that was Tom Brady's final year with the Bucks, and he did not even really look that good, even though they went to the playoffs that year. They was bounced out round one. Brady
Hmm.
retires, and then comes Baker Mayfield. I'm pretty much proud of Baker and what he's had to overcome.
Yeah,
He got kicked to the side in Cleveland, or I should say this, he actually worn out his welcome in Cleveland, and it was just a toxic situation between the two parties.
yeah.
They discarded him, and they decided to send him to Carolina, I believe, after they did the
Carolina.
Deshaun Watson trade. Um,
Hmm.
Carolina, he was almost left for dead there, and then he asked for his release, and then he goes and plays 5 minutes with the LA Rams because
And
they
win and
basically
didn't he win the game too
he
that
did
time that
he
he did
did.
play? So yeah, he won the
I'm
game. Then they,
That
yeah,
was such a weird performance because the Raiders basically just choked bad, but Baker got a
yeah.
lot of credit, and it just showed that hey, he's still scrappy and he's still trying to fight, man. And I'm very happy to see that he's found a home in Tampa Bay.
It, I am too. To be honest with, I'm gonna be honest with you because that's how I am. I don't like Baker Mayfield. Excuse me. I didn't like Baker Mayfield when he was in
Same,
college. I thought he
same.
played with a chip on his shoulder. He just was a show off, and I didn't like it. But when he came to the Cleveland Browns and did what he did with the Browns, took them to their first playoff win since God knows when, and did his thing, and then the whole controversy, locker room stuff happened, and all that team stuff. But I'm happy that he found a home,
Hmm.
in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, for me, I actually it's weird because I said same, but I thought you were talking about his tenure with the Browns. I didn't like him once he got to Cleveland. I felt like that
Oh no,
he got big headed and thought that he was the reason why the Browns were good. And he was. He actually helped bring the
yeah,
energy. He brought the energy, I should say, to that organization. They ain't had a
mhm,
quarterback in 1,000 years until he came along. But again, things changed quick on him because he worn out his welcome. He started getting too much into his own head. It reminded me of the later Chad years in Cincinnati. Not that Baker Mayfield was on the same level of production as Chad Johnson in Cincinnati. He wasn't, but there was a point of where Chad Johnson's antics became bigger than his play.
mhm,
And that's how it was with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland.
yeah,
Now, in college, I rooted for him. I actually liked the cocky, brash attitude. I felt like that I wanted the Bengals to have that guy at one point. At one point, I'm glad we
yeah,
didn't, but I'm glad.
yeah,
But at one point, I wanted him here because I needed somebody that had an edge to him when we was going against the Steelers and the Ravens. Not necessarily Ravens, but the Steelers in general. And I felt like Baker had the right moxie and the attitude to do it. That other than Andy Dalton at the time. But
yeah,
again, we got Joe Burrow. I don't care about none of that no more. So
right,
I don't know how much of the preseason action that the Bucks starters are going to see. I think they might see fairly some action, but we're not here to talk about their preseason action. We're going to be expected to see the Bengals starters out there this is quoted by Zach Taylor directly, that the starters are expected to get some preseason action in. Joe
Mhm.
Burrow is expected to play. I'm hoping it's just for one series, go straight down the field, get a touchdown, come out the game, game's over. At
Mhm.
least game done, I'm done watching, I should say. I mean, I'm still gonna watch, but
Right.
So, Tim, we're gonna list three things as far as like what our expectations are going to be, as far as what we are looking forward to when we're going to be watching Bengals preseason football, not just this Saturday, but throughout all of preseason. I'll let you
Mhm.
kick this off to give me your first one, and then we'll just go and alternate from there.
Well, first I want to tell Austin Zart Hude. He left us a comment in
Oh
the
yeah,
chat
yeah.
over
Let's
there.
bring them up. Yeah,
Hude
yeah,
Austin, happy to
yes,
have you. You know, you're a OG running through the jungle viewer. We appreciate you. But that's
yeah.
what I wanted to say first. Um, but to go on to the preseason, what I'm looking for, um, last year we were 31st in the NFL in run defense.
Mm-hmm.
My main focus this preseason, and I know it's only preseason, and we're only going to see maybe the starters play one series, the defense play one series, and then they're out. But I want to see what those, you know, um, string twos and string three guys are going to be doing on the defensive line to see how they're going to handle the rush. Especially because we were so bad last year in run defense that we need a huge upgrade this year. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my number one focus this year during the preseason. And I'm going to be honest with everybody is I hate the preseason because I think it's a waste of time. But then when it comes to, football teams bringing in, rookies and free agents and stuff like that, it kind of gives them a chance to actually learn, Lou's playbook or I was about to say Brian Callahan, but oh my gosh, who was the
Dan
offensive
Pitcher,
coordinator? Pitcher,
Dan
yeah,
Pitcher.
pitcher,
Yeah.
and Zach Taylor's coaching and everything, and also with Joe Burrow coming back, from the injury, gives him a chance to knock the rust off. But anyways, I'm not gonna talk about that. But the defensive line is my major focus for these next couple weeks of preseason games for the Cincinnati Bengals.
So for my number one, I'm actually going to use a player spotlight because he's been being raved on about all training camp and among other guys too. But it's our first round pick, Amarius Mims.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm going to point him out as a player spotlight to watch throughout the entire preseason, I'm not sure how much action he's going to get in terms of like preseason play. But what I've been hearing from him, what I've been hearing from the coaches and everybody, the players around him, it just seemed like this guy gets it. It seems like this guy just understands what football's about.
Hmm.
And I got to eat a little bit of crow because I didn't really want the Bengals to draft a guy in the first round that only had 8 starts. I was looking at it from a casual fan's perspective, and that's not good. I got to be better on my part. And I'm glad we drafted a guy like that because the dude physically is a unicorn freak. And it seems like he's practicing like that. I hope it just shows up on the field. That's the thing. Because here's my thing. If you are listening to this show, I'm pretty sure that by this time you have already would have listened to Trent Brown's locker room little interview that he had, I think what, a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily that he said anything bad. What it would kind of gave me flashback for those that didn't, let me just share with you. Trent Brown, he hasn't practiced all throughout training camp so far.
Hmm.
He was rehabbing, an injury, a small injury or whatnot. I'm not quite sure what the deal is, but he's back. But he's not really up to speed when it comes to football shape as of yet. So the locker room did a little interview. I mean, I'm sorry, the media did a little interview with him in the locker room, and he talked about it. You know, I felt like that it was kind of loose and casual from basically what we heard. He was stating things like, I mean, I don't really have to play in the preseason because I'm a 10-year vet. I kind of know how to get myself in the football game shape. And, it is what it is. Like, okay, that sounds cool. If you're my backup left tackle or right tackle, I would be thrilled with that because you are a 10-year vet. He
Hmm.
does have injury history. But what I'm now hoping for, and I got to be honest, it really kind of shifted after I listened to that interview. Now I'm hoping for is Amarius Mims comes out of this thing and basically just grabs the right tackle starting job and then just never lets it go. Unless it's a
Yeah.
situation where he gets injured or something, and then Trent Brown steps in as the swing tackle. That would be the ideal situation for me now, because Amarius Mims is the guy that has the upside. And that's the person that I'm going to be keeping my eye on as I begin my first of the three of the player spotlight. Let's say you, Tim.
Well, I wanted to add on to yours. I agree with you 110% when it comes to Marius Mims. From what I'm seeing in the preseason, his hands, his feet look good. He's working his butt off over there. And if I was, if I had to say so in anything, I'd say almost Mims has got the starting position over Trent.
It feels like it. It
It
really does
does.
feel like it.
It just feels that way. And then with his interview today, I'm I wasn't impressed. He was just like kind of like, oh, nonchalantly, just like it was no big deal, and it was no, it was just, no, it is what it is kind of thing, for me. But that's how I took it as a viewer, on this side. Um, but I'm hoping that Trent Brown comes and he's ready to, he's ready to play. He's in football shape, because with this guy having all these injuries over the past 10 seasons,
Mhm.
that's a big deal. But
I feel like
anyways,
he hasn't. I feel like that he hasn't had as much injuries until he left the Patriots the first time, and when he signed that big deal with the Raiders, and then that's when I
right.
think that the injury bug started to follow him a little bit there. But that's during the area with the Brady and the Belichick at their heyday, where it feels like that when you're on the Patriots, you play well, and when you leave the Patriots, you don't play well, and that's just what
Hmm.
it seemed like. That's what Trent Brown's history was. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
even if Trent Brown were to still practice and he did ended up winning the right tackle starting job over Marius Mims, we know it's not the long term plan. We know that
Right.
Mims is going to eventually succeed and take the job over. But I'm just hoping for as I'm what I'm reading and what I'm listening, I'm hoping while I'm watching, my expectation for him is just take the job now. Like
Yeah.
don't let the coaching staff hand it to you because you're the draft pick and you got to go out there and play. No,
Hmm.
we don't need that. You
Yeah.
get selected because you actually beat him out and you won the job with consistent, great play. And I think he understands that. It just seeing all the things is just like, I think Amarius Mills truly gets football at its highest level. So
Hmm.
that's my number one thing that I'm watching out for.
Yeah.
Let's go to number two. Let's go to
Number
number two.
two. Well, for me, I'm run the damn ball. I already talked about the defense and how they're gonna react to how they're gonna play against the run game. How about our run game? I
Yeah.
want to see the run game because we got Zach Moss, we got Chase Brown, we got Trevion Williams, and we got Captain America back there as well. Are we going to keep all four, or are we only going to keep three? I want to see. I want to see how that run game's going to look, how they're going to utilize the actual running backs. Because right now, truly, we'll see little clips here and there of the of the running backs, but that's it. We're not seeing much. The only thing
Right.
we're seeing right now is Joe Burrow and Browning throwing the football, and Higgins, and that's all we're seeing. That's all we're seeing right now. We're just seeing the passing game. I want to see Chase Brown get the ball and just take off. Just zoom. Bam, gone 22 and a half miles per hour down the damn
Right.
field and run it down somebody's throat for a touchdown. That's all I want to see. But on the other side, though, um, I'm interested to see how Captain America and Trevion Williams, who they're going to keep. Are they going to, who's going to make the third spot? Who's going to be on the 53 man roster for the third spot of the halfbacks? We don't know, but I'm going to
Right.
assume it's going to be Trevion because Trevion Williams, he's a hell of a third down back. He can return punts, or he can run uh, kickoff returns, special teams stuff. I'm going to assume it's going to be Williams because
Mhm.
last year, honestly, we didn't hear very much of Chris Evans at all last year.
Bro, he's
He
been in the
was
doghouse.
Yeah, he just got lost, and I know Brandon. He's a big Michigan guy, and Chris Evans played for Michigan, but
Right.
he's just been lost last year and
Yeah.
nowhere to be found. So the run game for me is something that I want to see. Even though I know we got Joe Burrow, we got Jamar Chase and Higgins, and all these weapons. All these weapons, all these talented weapons on our team. But I want to see them run the ball because eventually Joe Burrow's going to hand the ball off to somebody, and I want to see that damn ball be ran down somebody's throat.
I'm actually gonna. I agree with you. Well, I absolutely agree with you. And before I get into my number two, I do want to float something out here too, because here's
Hmm.
what we always hear in the fan base, and it's kind of getting tiring for me too, personally. Do you think the Bengals need to make a play for Samaje Perine if and when he gets cut from the Denver Broncos?
I've heard this being tossed around. I even heard James Rapine talk about it. I've heard other, Bengals people talk about Samaje Perine, and I like Samaje Perine. He's a power back. He's a hell of a third down back. But I'm going to say this: we need to walk away from that because honestly, he's been gone from the Cincinnati Bengals for almost 2 years now. We'll just say 2 years because this is a new season. So he's been gone for the Cincinnati
Right.
Bengals for 2 years now. And I always thought Samaje was a hell of a running back in college as well. He was a hell of a running back. But I personally don't believe he is the Samaje Perine that we had with the Cincinnati Bengals. But I just personally think, I believe that we just need to walk away from that. Last year, if this would have happened, mm,
You can talk me
maybe
into last year if that
last
was to be
year.
the case last year.
But Joe Mixon, he stepped up on third downs. He actually stepped up and played a good in the third down back position. So, like I said, last year, Samaje, yes. This year, I'm saying we walk away from that.
Um, I'm glad you brought it up before I brought it up. And basically, what I'm going to say is this: I'm so tired of us bringing up former Bengals players that role players that we've
Mhm.
outgrown to
Yeah,
basically tell them to come back and play on the team. We did it with Eli Apple.
yeah.
And we're always constantly doing it with Samaje Perine. Those are the two top names that I'm always hearing that people keep saying the Bengals need to go after this guy and this guy for depth at running
Yeah.
back and cornerback. It's always those two names. How
Hmm.
about this? Draft and develop a young guy, and whether if it's college free agency, don't forget Noah Kane and Elijah Collins are two college free agents that might actually do something. The running
Yeah.
back position is very fragile this year. I will
Hmm.
admit that. We don't know what to truly expect from Chase Brown. We don't know if Zach Moss is going to be the person that's going to mix in everything correctly like we think he can. But
Right.
when you got Joe Burrow, man, it helps elevate your value. And Samaje Perine was basically a beneficiary of Joe Burrow elevating his value while he was here. Because if he
Hmm.
was anything special, Denver would not be drafting all these other running backs like Audric Estime and such. He would actually be the guy. So
Yep.
I want the Bengals fan base in general to move on, okay, from
Hmm.
certain guys. If we do bring them back, I'll welcome them with open arms, but I'm also not going to be super excited about it because it's just digging in the recycling bin of the players that you had in your past where you just need to
Hmm.
learn how to draft and develop better. That's how I look at it. But
Yeah.
anyways, I
I
just
agree.
needed to
What
throw that out
I
there.
and I agree with you 110%. I do. I agree with you 110% because it's just we've grown. We're a different team now. Like I've said
Much different.
before. Like I said before, this year's team is better than last year's team. That's all I
Hmm.
gotta say. And don't
Now,
forget, we lost Joe Mixon as
yeah,
well. But I
right.
still believe that this team is better than last year's team.
Well, I truly believe that. We're looking at the Jimmys and Joes, but actually the production value of the X's and O's is going to be a little bit more than we think it's going to be. But for
Amen.
my number two, I'm actually because I had this on my list as well too. But I'm glad that our boy Austin R actually put it in the comments. So I'm actually going to just share it with him
Yeah.
because I'm glad that he brought the awareness here. The punting battle is absolutely interesting, bro.
Hmm.
And you're going to hear the news later today that when I share, but Yeah, the Bengals just waived Austin McNamara, which I was a little bit salty about because he was one of the better punters in college, but the Bengals waived him. So it looks like that it's going to be a battle between Brad Robbins and the new guy Ryan Reckhow. I'm not even sure how to pronounce his last name, but that's the punter battle. But I kind of agree with Austin Nazar here in his comment, but I think that we're going to see Brad Robbins win the job again. And here's the thing: if that does become the case, we got to see some creativity with these punters. I just want the position to be just solidified. I feel like that ever since the 2022 AFC Championship game, the one we lost against Kansas City, and when Drew Chrisman just did a line drive punt to who was that called? Was it Kadarius Toney? I don't even remember. But he did a big return back and set them up for their game-winning field goal. I feel like ever since that moment, Bengals fans, including myself, have just been thinking about punters ever since then. Like, we need a long-term punter investment because of that one moment. And I hate it. Like, first of all, resolve the situation and resolve the issue. You had a chance to get Matt Araiza. I understand he had the off-the-field issues and stuff like that, but since then, that stuff's been proven that was a false allegation against him, which that wasn't fair. And now the Chiefs picked him up. They got rid of their old punter and got him. So you got to understand, man, like, these opportunities be out here, Bengals. You gotta go get it. Something tells me that this punter battle is far from over, though. Something tells me that we got a long way to go before who's officially decided. But I think that Brad Robbins do have the early step on the other guy because he was the guy that was drafted, simply put.
I agree. And, just in case emergency, if he gets hurt and we need an emergency punter, we'll just have Joe Burrow kick the punt. No biggie. It'll be all right.
Did you know in 2003, I had to look this back in when I was kind of like watching some Patriots documentaries and stuff. In 2003, Tom Brady helped the Patriots win a game when on one of the drives where he punted the ball. It was like against the Miami Dolphins in Foxborough. It was a cold, almost a blizzard in that day. And it was just a defensive battle. And the offense wasn't really doing anything. But one thing that Tom Brady was able to do to help his team flip field position was on third down, on fourth down, he got in shotgun and then he punted the ball, I think, down to the 1 yard line. Then the defense intercepts it. I believe it was Teddy Bruschi, and then gets it in for a pick six. So I think that was a creative way to do that. You might see something like that with Joe Burrow. I don't know when it's going to happen or if it happens this season, but it could happen down the road.
It's funny. It's just funny that you mentioned that because I play, as you guys all know, I play video games. I play Madden. I play college football. I play all kinds of video games, actually, not just sports-based games. But every year, Madden comes out with out-of-position heroes cards, right? Like Tom Brady punter card. They usually release a Ben Roethlisberger punter because he's punted as well. They even release an Ocho Cinco kicker card, which is just because he did kick a field goal in a regular game. So it's funny that you bring that up. But anyway, sorry. Let's get back on point.
Hey, this is the part of the season that look we're amped up. We're excited for this season. So all right, ready for number 3? Let's go with number 3. Go for it.
So, I'm not focusing on players here. I'm focusing on how they are going to use our safeties. We have a very deep safety room. Right now we do. We got Geno Stone, Von Bell. I about him called for some reason I wanted to call him Von Miller. Sorry, Von Bell. My bad. Von Bell. We got Jordan Battle. We got Dax Hill, even though Dax Hill's transitioning into cornerback / nickel / whatever. So that's what I want to see. I want to see how our secondary is going to be using the safeties. Are we going to come out there with 2 safeties in the back? Are we going to come out? Who knows? Are we going to come out there with 3 safeties? How are we going to use these? Are we going to take a safety to cover a tight end? Because last year, remember, we got burnt and toasted by tight ends last year. Toasted.
So bad.
Like it was toast, like it was burnt toast. It wasn't toast like a toasty piece of toast that you can eat. No, it was burnt toast where you throw it in the damn trash. That's how bad our tight end our tight end coverage was. So that's what I'm looking at seeing is how are they going to use these safeties? They got Geno Stone, like I said, they got Von Bell. We already know what Von Bell can do. They brought Von Bell back for a reason, for communication.
Yeah.
Communication
Mhm.
was so bad last year in our secondary that nobody knew what the hell was going on. So this year, preseason comes, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to watch the safeties. I want to see how they line up. I want to see what kind of formations that we're coming out as. Um, you know, I love Mike Hilton. Of course, everybody knows I love Mike Hilton, and I know Mike Hilton's not going to get to play, but he might play in a series, like I said. But I want to see how they're going to use our safeties and even our corners. I want to see how they're lining up and
Yeah.
like what kind of formations they're coming out of. So that's my number 3.
Just to add to it before I give my number 3, I need to see that secondary evolve past the bend but don't break type of style that they've been doing for a
Amen.
while now. 2022 and 21, it was really good. It was successful. It helped us win a lot of games. It helped us go deep in the playoffs. But in 2023, you saw when it's not Joe Burrow on the field, and even when Joe Burrow was on the field, you saw that it became the Achilles heel of the team for the most part. And I need to see the Bengals defense evolve past this scheme. And
Yeah.
that's actually starts with Lou Anarumo understanding that he doesn't have Jesse Bates back there. That yes,
Right.
even though you have Von Bell returning to the team, he's not paired alongside with Jesse Bates. And Von Bell is another year older, 2 years removed from his best season, which was 2 years ago. And quite frankly, I agree. I gotta see the formations and how they line up
Yeah.
for me to feel confident. And I hope that they can do this more so the depth pieces in the secondary on the defense. But
Yeah.
I'm going to go for my number 3, the interior depth on the offensive line. And I've already mentioned earlier as my player spotlight with Demarius Mims, but he's a tackle. We already know what we have at left and right tackle. Okay. We have left tackle, obviously Orlando Brown Jr., right tackle. Our hope is to be Demarius Mims as he takes that starting job. And swing tackle is going to be Trent Brown. No matter who goes down, Trent Brown's coming to town. Yes, I made a rhyme. Sorry, I messed that up. And then you got Jackson Carman, who's quietly been having a solid training camp, but
I
I
hear
don't
that.
really like the idea of Jackson Carman starting in my lineup if somebody goes down with the injury. But even worse, I don't like the idea of any of the interior offensive line pieces as depth pieces insert themselves in the starting lineup if any of those guys go down. I'm to the point now where the 2020 draft class, which featured 3 offensive linemen that we drafted, Jackson Carman, Trey Hill, and Deontay Smith. I'm all but done with that class. I'm all but done with those 3 guys all together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't think the Bengals need a wave and cut all 3 of them, but I would not be surprised if that were to be the case, especially at center. We hope Matt Lee is going to pan out for a 7th round pick. He had a lot of promise coming out of college, and everybody talks really highly of him. But at the end of the day, he's still a 7th round pick, and it is still a flyer. But outside of Ted Karras, bro, I don't know where this team is going to go with the center. I don't know where the team is going to go with the positional guard flexibilities if either Alex Kappa or Cordell Volson. And a lot of Cordell Volson haters are out there, but let's keep it a buck here. Cordell Volson has actually been pretty solid. This is not the days of the Alex Redmonds of the world or the Fred Johnsons of the world. This is not those days when we had tomato cans at right tackle, center, all that. This is actually a pretty stout line when you think about it. They just need to gel together. But the harmonious dance that the offensive lineman has to do throughout the season, somebody's also bound to get hurt. And I just hope to God that it's not the interior of the offensive line because I am not high on any of the guys depth wise when it comes to that position group. If you ask me personally, what say you?
I agree with you. I've been wondering when they were going to cut Carmen for the last 2 years. To be honest with you, he hasn't been somebody that has been productive, and when he is out there, he's just like I remember last preseason, he was just pretty much giving up on plays. But I do agree with you. I agree with you 100%. As of right now, The center out of Miami, Matt, what's his Matt?
Lee. That's the seventh
Matt,
round pick, Matt Lee out of
yeah,
Miami.
Matt Lee. I haven't seen nothing really on him in training camp right now. From what I'm understanding, is he's not even he hasn't been on any 7-on-7s or 11-on-11s. Nothing. So it makes you wonder. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see when if and when it happens on preseason. How he handles the snaps coming up in preseason. But I do agree with you. Like I said, I do agree with you 110%. It's just I just believe in our offensive line. I think it's more experience with Volson. And I know there's a lot of haters out there about Volson, and I stuck up for him all last year, and I'll still stick up for him. He's not a bad guard. He's not bad at all. Yeah, he has his moments, but when you're guarding against Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons, what are you supposed to do when they're double teaming? When they're coming in there, 2 or 3 guys in one spot, you can only protect. You can only guard one guy. When there's 2 or 3 guys coming through that hole, you can only do what you can do. But anyways, I agree with you 110%.
And the thing we got to remember about Cordell Volson that 2 years ago he was a fourth round pick, and we thought to ourselves that we probably found a hidden gem even during that time. He
Yeah.
performed admirably well in the preseason. He
Mm-hmm.
was always in position. He didn't really let blocks get by him, but then he found out that the preseason, the regular season, it's a different thing. But he was
Yeah.
still somewhat productive, and I think that we just need to give him a chance to grow up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're like microwave society in terms of we want these guys to pan out so quick and so fast that we
Right.
forget, man, they got to grow and nurture and develop. So, but I
Yeah.
digress on the interior offensive line depth piece. But that is my number 3 thing that I'm going to be keeping a close watchful eye for. They've
Yeah.
been doing pretty solid in training camp, but that's going against your own team. Joint
Mm-hmm.
practices are going to be coming up, so we'll see how that fares. We'll also see the remaining preseason games, and then when regular season begins September 8th for the Bengals, they better be ready to go. And no excuses anymore for the 21 draft class that featured those 3 offensive line. No more excuses. You gotta put up this year if you're going to stay on this team
Yep.
because we're talking about drafting a replacement. So we have to make sure we get it right this time. So, but we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we'll continue our discussion. We'll get into some top 100 reaction discussion because that was another talking point throughout the offseason so far. Now that has wrapped up late last week, I should say. And then we'll finish it off, finish it off for the day. So me and Tim can enjoy our long awaited paid time off that we got coming
Yes.
up this weekend. So
Yes,
thank
sir.
you all so much for joining us. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. We are back. Thank you so much for joining us again. I'm your boy Justin Lacey, joining you with Tim Lyons. Brandon Harriet is actually out today. He is enjoying his time off right now. So me and Tim holding it
Well,
down for you, having a good discussion, talking about what our expectations are regarding what we're looking to expect to watch doing this coming to preseason. Our
mm-hmm.
Bengals just got to get ready, bro. They just got to get ready to play football just like any other team would. But more specifically, we got high expectations that this team needs to be able to make a potential Super Bowl run. The Super Bowl's in New Orleans this year. We know that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, they went to LSU for college, but they ain't the only ones gunning for that title. The Chiefs are on a road to a three-peat. You got the Baltimore Ravens looking to extract revenge for falling short in the AFC Championship game at home. You got the Buffalo Bills, who are always still in conversation and contention. The New York Jets got Aaron Rodgers healthy, and let's see how they remain healthy throughout the season. The Miami Dolphins, I'm not too sure of what their ultimate expectation is, but we know they got a fun to watch offense, and
Yeah.
one of them features Tyreek Hill, and I love watching him. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a whole slew of other guys in the AFC. It's a tough road. It starts with winning the AFC North Division first. So the Bengals know what they got to do for this throughout the rest of the season, but it all starts this weekend. Let's see what you
Mm-hmm.
look like as you get your game rep films in order, I should say. I'm confusing my words here, but you get what I'm saying. Thanks for bearing with me, fans, and thanks for also bearing with me too, Tim. So, but
it's hard, bro.
it's tough, bro. It's like when your thoughts are racing like 100 miles an hour, man. There's so much that I want to say at once, but I can't control myself.
It's all good.
Oh man. All right. So we're going to go into some quick around the league news right now. So a little bit of Bengals news that actually happened earlier today. So the Bengals actually signed defensive end Andre Carter and defensive tackle Joshua Pryor. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't really know much about those guys. I think Andre Carter, I think he's a defensive end that went to Wisconsin, more of an interior that was pretty good against the run, I should say. Not so much as a pass rusher, but I gotta watch film, you know what I mean, before I start giving my takes and start sounding wrong. But good little signings here because they did place Cam Sample, who unfortunately tore his Achilles. He's on IR. He's missing the season. And like I said earlier, the Bengals did waive Austin McNamara, the punter, and wide receiver Trey Mosley. I didn't know we had him. Oh, that was awesome. Okay. Any thoughts about that before I move on to other news?
Nah, go ahead. I got nothing.
I've already talked about it.
I looked at the defensive ends and I was like, oh, I know the one. I think didn't he get drafted by the Carolina Panthers or something? And I don't know. That's all I knew. That's it.
Yeah, that's more than me because I didn't even know that. I need to do a little bit better research with some guys before I start talking on the mic, especially when we're live on the air. But anyways, other news, so the Chiefs extended Harrison Butker on a 4-year deal worth $25.6 million, making him the highest paid kicker in the NFL. Previously was Justin Tucker at $6 million. He is now eclipsed that at $6.4 million. Now I know what you're thinking. This is now going to be the talking point with Evan McPherson as we get his extension done. Slow down. Actually, don't slow down because I want Evan McPherson extended too. So if we need to make him match the offer of a Harrison Butker or Justin Tucker, Bengals, do what you got to do, man. You got to start getting these extensions done at some point. So, but like I said, I didn't want to go into contracts talks, but that's specifically with Jamar and T. Higgins. We've beat those drums to a pulp. But Evan McPherson, man, Bengals got to be ready to pay the big bucks for him as well too. So, again, I'm not really thinking too much of this either when it comes to the Bengals news. I mean, when it comes to the Bengals side of this particular news, because Harrison Butker has proven time and time and again that he's a clutch kicker too, just like Justin Tucker did. Justin Tucker is 10 plus years in the league now, and he is a Hall of Fame kicker. Evan McPherson is going into year 4. He's did some big kicks before getting us to the Super Bowl, and we love him, and he is going to get paid. But I think it's fair to say that he's one of the best kickers, but not the best kicker in terms of salary. He should be when considering Evan McPherson and where his pay range is. Any thoughts?
Butker deserved that check. Like I always say, Justin Tucker, he's the best kicker in the league. He's the best kicker in the league. I don't care what anybody says. Justin Tucker's the best. Number 2 is Harrison Butker. I don't care what anybody says about him. He deserves that paycheck. Evan McPherson, I don't think he's going to get $6 million. I don't think he's going to get that. I think he's going to get probably I'm going to guess 4.5, 5.5 mil range.
5.5. I'll give him that.
4, 5, 5.5. That's what I'm assuming, because he has been in the league. Last year he didn't have. If you look at his stats last year, he didn't have the best year, but he had an average year. So, but I love Evan McPherson. I thought it was hilarious when the Bengals drafted him. And people were like, really? You're drafting a kicker?
I loved it.
He's pretty damn good. So, I would definitely get that deal done. And I know I watched the interview with Evan McPherson this morning, actually. And, he's like, I'm excited, if it gets done. If it doesn't get done, whenever it happens. So it's not, he's going to be holding out or anything, maybe, later on or whatever. So, and it's not no big deal. But I believe it'll get done. So, yeah.
The Bengals just have a really good culture in place to where these guys understand that the business side is obviously another animal, but at the end of the day, they're trying to be there for their teammates.
Right.
Even a certain receiver that I said that we're not going to mention his situation, I'll say his name. It's Jamar Chase. Even his situation. And I'm not going to talk about his situation because I already said that's first things first in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still present with the team,
Mm-hmm.
helping them out, all that stuff. It just shows to the overall culture that's in place that Zach Taylor had spearheaded, as what Joe Burrow mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and there's some more news here. So the Miami Dolphins and Tyreek Hill agreed on a restructured contract. So his now restructure is going to be paying him $90 million over the next 3 years with a total guarantees of $65 million. So he is going to be among the highest paid at the wide receiver position. Now, we already know that contract is not eclipsing Justin Jefferson's contract that he had broke the mold in. 4 year for 145, 35 annual value. So, but it's incredible that the Dolphins were able to reward such a predominant player. And I think I know why. And it's because, well, Tyreek Hill was just voted as the number one player on the NFL's top 100 list.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great segue, Tim, that we can go into it.
Yeah.
Because now I want to know about your general thoughts of the top 100 reaction, like your reactions to the top 100. We already know the Bengals players were ranked. There was 3 of us. You got Joe Burrow, ranked number 39 for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase, ranked number 45 for some reason. And Trey Hendrickson, ranked number 72 for some reason. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What are your general thoughts of the NFL's top 100?
I'm sorry to do this, but I have to make this joke. The reason why Tyreek Hill got so much guaranteed money is because he's got all those damn kids. That's why he wanted that guarantee. That's all I gotta say. But 2, Tyreek Hill, number 1. You know, this list, let's not forget, like I said earlier, behind or in backstage before we started this list was done by the NFL players. They were voted by the NFL players. It wasn't something that, you know, Tommy that works for the NFL Network was sitting on the toilet and just started making a list of players, you know, of what he thought was number 1 through 100. He was actually voted by the players. Tyreek Hill, I can agree to this because, you know, he led the league with receiving yards. What, 1799? I think that's what it was. He was tied.
I can't recall, but
it was 1799. Yeah, it was 1799. He was a co-leader with 13 receiving touchdowns. I can agree. I can totally agree with that. But when it comes to the rest of this nonsense, and some of you Baltimore Ravens fans are going to hate me, and I really don't care because I don't like you guys anyways. You know, I'm not a Ravens fan.
It's a Bengals show anyway, so what's up?
It's a Bengals show. Lamar Jackson was ranked number 2 over Patty Mahomes and even over Christian McCaffrey. Okay. Why? Okay. You got the MVP. Maybe you got more friends in the locker rooms and everybody decided let's give Lamar Jackson number 2. When the Super Bowl MVP, the Super Bowl champion, Patty Mahomes, is number 4. But I don't agree that Lamar Jackson should be number 2. I believe it should be Patty Mahomes. Patty Mahomes should be number 1. He's a great ball player. Like last year, he can just do anything with the ball, and he's going to throw a touchdown. That's all there is to it. Patty Mahomes is Patty Mahomes. So that was like one of my things that I disagreed upon is why Lamar Jackson is over Patty Mahomes, besides because he got the MVP. That's it.
For me, I have a lot of different reactions, but I'm gonna try to keep it short. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because when I look at the NFL's top 100 list going into 2024, it is not an accurate reflection of what really transpired in 2023. To be perfectly honest, 2023 was basically a down year all the way around. Myles Garrett won NFL Defensive MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, and I truly felt like that he didn't deserve it like a lot of people think. I think he had the great masterclass game against the Colts where he had 3 turnovers by himself, I think that
Right.
one game pretty much just catapulted them into that discussion and ultimately just, gave it to them because, and also what the Browns did on defense being one of the better ranked units overall last year. But in my opinion, the real defensive player of the year was, and they actually reside in the AFC North, either Roquan Smith or TJ Watt. Those two were your real defensive player of the years for me personally.
Amen.
But the list itself does not reflect accurately. And also, you say that Patrick Mahomes should have been ranked number 1. I have to disagree.
2.
Patrick Mahomes? You said Patrick Mahomes needs to be
number 2.
Hey, number 2. Okay.
Yeah.
But still, I disagree.
Okay.
Not saying that Patrick Mahomes need to be ranked as the best. He's already the best quarterback in the game. We know this. But if you looked at his 2023 season, we obviously just look at it that he won the Super Bowl and then just give them his flowers. Boom, there you are on a top 10 or top 5, unquestionably sitting at number 4. The fact that the Chiefs are getting up in arms about him being number 4 is kind of like laughable because did he not have a average season last year? Like, I remember watching that Chiefs offense and they were being picked up by the defense more than anything. And it was until they got to the playoffs. Oh, now Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes wants to come alive again. But before that, dude, they was not really playing good football for real. Let's just keep it real here. And
but let's not forget though, Patty Mahomes had Mr. Dropsy number 1, Mr. Dropsy number 2 that he was throwing the ball to, who couldn't keep their hands, who couldn't catch a damn ball to save their lives. He could have literally put some glue on the football and they still would have dropped it. So Patty Mahomes,
that's true.
And he's a back-to-back Super Bowl champion.
Well, true, but I remember back in 2011. This was before when the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010. They did an NFL Top 100 list in going into 2011. Aaron Rodgers didn't even make the top 10, and he won the Super Bowl. He made it at number 11. I remember that like it was yesterday. But Patrick Mahomes being number 4, I'm not mad at it. I just think it's the overwhelming value of what he brought to the table last year when he basically, like you said, had the dropsies at receiver and basically felt like he was either winning the games by himself or the defense was carrying him. So I'm not overall mad at it, but you can also make the argument that he could have been dropped lower on that top 10 list, if you ask me personally. And same with Travis Kelce too. And now we can get into the Bengals because that's the hot topic, being that this is a Bengals show. Bengals fans are going to obviously clamor that Joe Burrow should have been ranked higher. I agree, obviously. When he's healthy, though.
Right, but let's be honest, though, the NFL players, and I'm going to say
the NFL players
forgot about Joe Burrow. They forgot about Joe Burrow.
It's true, but you can forget about a lot of people when they're injured in total. And I don't want to minimize it to just only Bengals, even though it does feel like throughout this whole offseason that people was just ready to just trash Joe Burrow or throw him in the trash for what he did in the past because, he's injury prone. It was that. But for the most part, lack of a better term, I do want to be fair that the injury moniker on every player does come to fruition because look what they're doing to Aaron Rodgers. People literally forget Aaron Rodgers is still playing football.
And they're trashing him big time right now.
But nonetheless, the Bengals did not have the kind of season in 2023 like we all would have hoped. And Joe Burrow understands that. He knows he's a top 5 quarterback. He knows he's top 2 at, if we're really being honest. And if you ask Jamar Chase, he ain't even number 2. And he number 1. If you ask Jamar, which I agree.
Because Jamar ain't mentioning that Patrick Mahomes' name. I ain't saying his name.
That is that is funny. That is so funny to me. But and the same with Jamar Chase. I know he was ranked number 45. We obviously know he was better. He's better he's a unquestioned top 5 talent in the receiver position. To me, he's obviously better than CeeDee Lamb and all those guys. I think he's only behind 2 guys, and that's Justin Jefferson and Tyreek Hill. And then it's Jamar, and Jamar has the talent to leapfrog both of those guys. Well, we got to be honest with ourselves here. Did Jamar Chase have the best season for his own standards last season? No, he did not. Do we think that he will be able to eclipse better than what he does before this upcoming season? Yes, we do. However, this is where the players kind of get a little bit sideways because It's always what you did in the past, and then you apply it going forward into this year, thinking that the things are going to repeat itself and it changes. So the list is always going to be flawed, no matter what
Yeah.
you do on a year-to-year basis. It's no need to get up in arms about any rankings. Yeah,
Yeah.
you see them. Yeah, you acknowledge them, but you move on and you play better football going into next season. Because guess what? If Jamar Chase beats one of those seasons where I think he can be and be Offensive Player of the Year candidate, have 2,000 yards receiving, because nobody's mentioning his name that could actually be doing that. I think so. Guess
Yeah.
what's going to happen? He's going to be ranked in the top 5 next year. Same with Joe Burrow if he has an MVP caliber season. And then I also, to your point about the Lamar Jackson and being ranked number 2 above Patrick Mahomes as number 2 player, that is solely based on the fact that he won NFL MVP. But I
Right.
also agree with Tyreek Hill should be ranked number 1. I agree with that. And that's because he should have been the league's MVP. And the only reason why he wasn't, same with Christian McCaffrey being a runner-up, is because they both lost to the Ravens when they played them late in the season. They had offensive meltdowns against their stout defense, which is why I said Roquan Smith should have been Defensive Player of the Year if you ask me personally. But I did not think that Lamar Jackson had the best quarterback stats all of last year at all. Dak Prescott, I feel like, in my opinion, had better stats than he did. Brock Purdy had better stats than he did. But he's just Lamar Jackson, and it's just a popularity contest, almost like it's Pro Bowl voting, somewhat, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you can't not acknowledge that he won his second NFL MVP, even though it was by minute that no one else was available around to win it or challenge him for that. It ain't like that Lamar Jackson was winning MVP in an era where he outplayed other quarterbacks in his same retrospect that were throwing great numbers as well too. Like Joe Burrow, he was a finalist for MVP in 2022, but Mahomes had the most passing yards and the most touchdowns that same season. In 2021, Joe Burrow should have won MVP, ended up winning Comeback Player of the Year award. And the reason why he didn't was because Aaron Rodgers had the most yards, most touchdowns, and the best record in the NFL. And that's where I'm talking about as far as you got to be able to show me your true value. It's almost like you're always going to be stacked with your peers no matter what you do. And also in the same 2022 season, Josh Allen was cooking like fish grease for the early part of that year, and he was the odds-on favorite to win NFL MVP. But Joe Burrow outplayed him and other guys and stuff. He just didn't win it. Lamar Jackson, what other quarterback was in the running outside of him? Like I said, you can somewhat make a case for Dak Prescott, but you really can't.
Dak was in the running for MVP at the time, but then he fell off and they lost and everything went to crap. But the one thing is Lamar Jackson's always going to have a foot up on everybody. Is that not only is he a quarterback, but he's also a running back. You know, when you have the most attempted rushing yards, rush attempts or whatever the hell it is for a quarterback, and I believe even for the running backs, you know, he's touching on two different stats here. He's touching on rushing yards and passing yards, rushing touchdowns and passing touchdowns. So Lamar Jackson is going to, like I said, always going to have a foot up, just like possibly Justin Fields might have a one up on somebody else too. But anyway, that's another conversation that I don't want to get into because I don't think Justin Fields is going to turn out the way these Steelers fans think he's going to turn out. But anyways, so that's how I feel about Lamar Jackson. He's got that one up. Like if Lamar Jackson went out there and threw for, 4,000 yards and, 40 touchdowns and ran for, almost 1,000 yards and, had so many rushing touchdowns, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to think he's the MVP of that season. But last year, he didn't throw up all those numbers. He had a good season for being Lamar Jackson, but it is what it is, and that's why they gave him number 2. But one thing I do want to mention just real quick before we end up ending the show is Trey Hendrickson. Underrated. Nobody thinks about Trey Hendrickson. Nobody. Nothing.
It's frustrating. I know.
It is as a Bengals fan, and I don't care about these lists. Like I tell you guys every single episode is all these lists is some guy sitting on the toilet making these lists and these rankings and all that stuff. They don't mean squat until the game is played and who the winner and the loser is. And just like John Madden always says, the team that scores the most points wins the game. Those lists don't mean squat. They really don't. But as a Bengals fan, as a Trey Hendrickson fan, he gets overlooked every single time. But you know what? Who cares? Because Trey Hendrickson's going to come out there and get 18 sacks a season. Okay. Keep him under the radar. Keep forgetting about him, and he'll keep doing his thing and working his ass off.
For Trey Hendrickson, what I will hope to see from him before obviously his playing days are numbered, of course, I would love to see just once that they line him up on another side of the field. You know what I mean?
Amen.
He's
Amen.
always rushing on the same position, the left tackle. And I feel like that when you do that all the time, you become pretty easy to read. You know, guys like we always mention Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. TJ Watt is more so an edge rusher / outside linebacker. So he's not even really a true defensive end. Myles Garrett is. Myles Garrett lines up all over the field. Like as far as like on the D line goes, he can line up on the left side, the right side. He can do the whole crisscross in the middle and do stunts. Trey Hendrickson doesn't do that. It's either he's bull rushing the left tackle or he's not on the field. And I think that's what some people are talking about, even though I need him to be ranked higher. But I also think it's a calling card of the Bengals defense was just not good last year. And he did have a descending ranking, but you still recognize that he's a top 100 madman. He did make the Pro Bowl for the third consecutive year with this team. So I feel like that he will eventually get his just due. I love him because he's a closer. That's one of my favorite things about pass rushers. He is a closer. But I got to be honest. Am I putting him above guys like Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby? I'm kind of not. I'm just being honest here. But I will put him in the same stratosphere for now as, let's say, Danielle Hunter, who also had a great and a fantastic season last year. Him and Trey Hendrickson, to me, are like the same. And they have the ability to go up in rankings as the time goes on, assuming that they continue their production. But I just need to see a little bit more flexibility from Trey's game in that perspective. But I agree, he is being overlooked. And you can pretty much say it's large part because of where he's playing his ball. But at the end of the day, when you're talented, people are going to notice you. Look at Joe Burrow. They can't wait to talk bad about Joe. But the truth of the matter is, they know he's a top 5. He's one of the best in the league, and you can't keep denying it. Same with Jamar. It's unquestionable. Those are the 3 best players of our team. Those are the 3 blue chip caliber guys on our team, which is why they make Pro Bowls every year in and year out, and why they're on this list year in and year out. So it's only going to get better from here for them. I'm not worried too much about this list at all, but there were some reactions that I wanted to get off of my chest. And that's pretty much the close. That's pretty much the case closed with the top 100 reactions. So thank you all for bearing through that with us. If you didn't get a chance to catch our live stream today, you always will have the audio version. It will also be replayed on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts or anything like that. So thank you so much for joining us. Tim, do you have any closing remarks?
Like I say every week, what do I say every week? Like, subscribe, and share. We appreciate every single one of you. Austin's Art, we appreciate you being the OG of Running Through the Jungle. We missed Brandon today. He's out working in Denver, a food convention or whatever it is. He's out there. We missed you too, bro. Have safe travels, and we'll see you guys again next week, next Wednesday.
All right. And then with that, I don't really have anything to add to that. So we appreciate you. You won't catch me on the mic next week because I'm enjoying my wonderful time off on my vacation. So Brandon will be back next week. Tim, you'll be joining them as well. So we still gonna cover, going to talk preseason reactions, all that good stuff. So you just hit that like and that subscribe button. So wherever you ding that button, get your notifications, do it all. The real stuff at this point by this time, So we always appreciate the support, you all. And Austin's Art, thank you so much always for joining us, being a loyal listener as you've always been. We always appreciate you, and we always love chiming in your comments, from the comment section. So thank you so much, man. And anyways, we'll be back next weekend. Not me, but we all will be back as we are running through the jungle.